who were armed with tanks and aircraft.
At the beginning, he had only 2 or 3 followers.
After 10 days, the number of people became thousands and thousands. They were coming and joining with him. The Taliban choosing him because he was a trustful person.
Omar's appeal is not his military or political prowess, but his deep piety.
He believed that he was working at the end of time, that he was entirely in service of God as he understood God, and that his efforts to build a perfect Islamic state were in part an effort to secure his passage to heaven.
Omar is a reclusive figure who seldom ventures outside his home in Kandahar. He has never met with any Western journalist or diplomat. To this day, it's hard to separate Omar, the man, from all the myths and legends that surround him. Those who know him describe Omar as quiet and shy, despite being an imposing physical presence. Because he deeply distrusts modern technology and is against all reproductions of the human form, there are few photographs of Omar in existence.
He refused to be photographed for Islamic reasons. He said, cannot take pictures of human beings or living creatures.
He is a rural religious figure whose beliefs are quite narrow and fundamental.
Even today, many of Omar's fundamental beliefs are still the norm in southern Afghanistan. A rudimentary religious education is all that's available to many children in the area. Omar recruits his growing legion of followers from Islamic schools like this one. Young boys like these Taliban study the teachings of an 18th century desert preacher named Muhammad Abdul Wahab. Wahab believed that all forms of adornment and modernity were blasphemous. He preached that every enemy of Allah should be converted or destroyed. According to one story, when Wahab came across a woman accused of fornication, he ordered her stoned to death. This severe doctrine stands in contrast to many of the rich cultural traditions of previous and current Islamic civilizations. But Wahhabism was strongly promoted by the Saudi religious clergy, and it was Saudi Arabia that donated most of the textbooks and learning materials to the Taliban. A holy war fought in Wahhab's name helped give birth to modern Saudi Arabia. Now, a new jihad will lead to the violent rise of the Taliban. The Taliban movement has simple aims: to restore peace, disarm the population, and implement strict Islamic law. Omar's followers wear long beards, dark eyeliner, and distinctive black turbans to signify their religious commitment. On November 3, 1994, this growing Taliban force moves on Kandahar. After just 2 days of fighting, Mullah Omar's followers capture the second largest city in Afghanistan, and at a cost of only 12 men.
They rise up at that moment and take over.
They captured Kandahar almost without a fight.
How did Omar's relatively unknown force capture an entire city without a major battle? Rumors circulate that the Pakistani Intelligence Service, or ISI, has bribed the local commander in Kandahar to surrender. After Pakistani Interior Minister Nazirullah Babar calls the Taliban "our boys," suspicion grows that Omar's troops are backed by Pakistan. But 2 former ISI leaders deny the charges.
The Interior Minister started saying these are my boys and all that, but the reality is, no, not at all.
It's wrong to say that Pakistan created Taliban. Absolutely not. The Taliban is a phenomenon by itself, you can say peculiar to a foreign society.
Other observers say that even if the ISI didn't create the Taliban, Pakistan was instrumental in Omar's rise.
And I don't think Pakistan had a role in trying to raise the Taliban army initially. When Pakistan came to realize that Taliban are a growing force, they offered them food and fuel and supplies.
The ISI helps Mullah Omar's troops repair huge stockpiles of sophisticated Soviet weaponry left behind in the haste of the Red Army's retreat. In Kandahar, the Taliban captured dozens of tanks, stores of weapons, helicopters, and MiG fighter jets. Omar's heavily armed troops now look to conquer more territory. In the next 3 months, the Taliban seize power in 12 of Afghanistan's 31 provinces. The bloodshed is minimal, as Afghans eager for change in their war-torn country welcome the Taliban as liberators.
The Taliban have come as savior of the people. They claimed at the beginning that they will bring peace, stability, and security. They will save the people from those atrocities. So at the beginning, the people supported them. A lot of people gave their weapons, and a lot of the provinces, without fighting, they fall into their hands.
20,000 madrasa students, many of them between 14 and 24 years old, joined the Taliban's march through Afghanistan. Wahid Mozdeh was one of the young men who felt the pull of Mullah Omar.
I joined the Taliban. I was one of the people who were very interested in learning about the movement. It was really secretive at that time.
Mysteries continued to surround the Taliban, Mullah Omar, and Pakistan's role in the rise of the movement. But the Taliban's ambitions are right out in the open. After sweeping through the south, Omar's followers set their sights on Kabul. Just outside the capital city, the Taliban overrun the headquarters of Gulbuddin Hekmatyar, one of the two feuding Mujahideen commanders controlling the area. The other, Ahmed Shah Massoud, remains entrenched in Kabul.
Ahmed Shah Massoud's front blocked the Taliban from getting the entire Afghanistan.
Ahmed Shah Massoud will become Mullah Omar's arch-nemesis. Massoud is one of the most legendary fighters in Afghan history. He is the son of a colonel in King Zahir Shah's army. Like most Afghans, Massoud was raised as a devout Muslim, but he also grew up with a rare exposure to Western languages and literature. During the war with the Soviet Union, Massoud commanded a small force protecting his birthplace, the Panjshir Valley. His use of innovative guerrilla tactics helped the Afghans win countless battles against better trained, better armed Soviet troops. Even today, Massoud is still known here by his nickname, the Lion of the Panjshir. But Massoud isn't a hero to all Afghans. When the Soviet war ended, he was one of the Mujahideen leaders who helped plunge the country into civil war. Many Afghans, especially in the south, prefer Mullah Omar and the Taliban. But in 1995, Massoud still has strong support in Kabul, the longtime seat of power in Afghanistan. When he sees that the Taliban are determined to capture the capital city, Massoud decides to strike first. His experienced fighters hit the Taliban with a devastating attack. After taking at least 3,000 casualties, Omar's troops are finally forced to retreat from Kabul. It's the Taliban's first major military defeat.
This was the biggest setback to the Taliban movement.
Stubbornly, Mullah Omar presses on, possessed by the conviction that it is Allah's will he rule Afghanistan. On April 4th, 1996, in Kandahar, Omar appears on a balcony above more than 1,200 religious leaders. He raps